Welcome to Rivalry Week as we wrap up the regular season here in year number 2. They don't like us and we don't like them. But a lot is on the line, including our bowl eligibility. Remember last year when we played against Virginia, we mopped the floor against them. We won 51-3. Well, UVA's gotten better this year. They're 6-5. They will be going to a bowl. We're hoping to join them. We've got to win this game in order for that to be the case. Last time around, we traveled to Dallas for our final road game of the regular season, facing off against SMU, who obviously is in the mix for the national title, currently ranked number 2. I have described them as the favorite to win the title throughout the course of the entire season. And you know what? We gave them a battle for 3 quarters. The game was actually tied at the end of the third, and then all hell kind of broke loose after that. SMU finished the game on a 31-0 run, 24-0 in the fourth. I give us a round of applause for showing up for the first 3 quarters, but when SMU needed to lock in, they certainly did. So we made an interesting switch at the quarterback position. Cam Kingsbury's been our starter since Game 4. We decided to roll with Ace Morgan, and I think he played quite well. 31 for 50. Yes, he had to throw the ball 50 times. 351 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick, which of course was a pick 6. We couldn't really run the ball. I don't think Chris Mickens played very well. But then through the air, we had this. 17 for 262. And a pair of touchdowns for Nazir Ismail, winning the National Player of the Week. Ironically, Cyril Ahmed for SMU with the pick 6 won the award on defense. Ismail this year now has 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns. It has been a historic season for them. He's passed the 3,000 yards mark in his career. And just to kind of put some things into perspective, our team has 2,722 passing yards this year. Ismail has received over 1,400 of those. So basically, he has over half of our receiving production. In terms of the touchdowns, he has 14. Nobody else has more than 1. Yeah, that's noticeable. So it's pretty clear how good Nazir Ismail is and how valuable he is. It was interesting to compare him with Parker Zasko, who, of course, leads the Heisman race. He's also in the mix to be wide receiver 1 in this class. Zasko was good, but certainly not as good as Ismail. Overall, though, I was very impressed with Tyree Wells. There's a reason why he is the projected number 1 pick, but it wasn't just him. Devon Easter, Raylo Benway, Travis Faust, a bunch of guys making plays. And we did pick off Tyree Wells twice, and he only had 2 interceptions all year before that. Nonetheless, our team has lost 3 of 4. We are in danger of missing a bowl. And Virginia, our rivals, who we blew out last year, they're a lot better. And they've got a chance to potentially stop us from going bowling. The Hoos are currently 6-5. They've played against a lot of the same good teams that we've played against and lost to all of them. Miami, Louisville, SMU, North Carolina, those are all teams we played against. And they're coming off a bye week, which it feels like everybody we play against comes off a bye. SMU did, Duke did, although, believe it or not many teams before Duke were coming off byes. Miami did, Maryland did, and then obviously Texas Tech at the start of the year. So I guess it wasn't as big of a narrative as I was kind of pushing it out to be over the last couple of episodes. But still, that's 3 opponents in a row who had a bye week last week and now get to play against us. Both Virginia and Virginia Tech are 2-5 in ACC play. It's been a challenging season with just right now better teams ahead of us in the conference standings. As we look at the Virginia roster, I think a big reason why they have improved this year is the quarterback play. They've got this young kid who's a redshirt freshman. He is fearless. Ironic because his name is Freddie Fears. It's been good, bad, and sometimes ugly with Fears. 6'3", 206 pounds from South Florida. He's got reasonably solid accuracy, pretty good arm, and he's one of the better rushing quarterbacks in the country. Remember last year, Virginia's quarterback Melvin Cain was the 2nd fastest quarterback in the nation, only behind our guy, Clyde Poole. Obviously, the 2 quarterback rooms have gotten a little slower, but Freddie Fears can scramble around. He can make plays out of structure, has turned the ball over 10 times this year, and his sack rate is sort of on the high side. He's been intercepted in each of the last 5 weeks, including 3 against SMU, but he also threw 422 yards in that game. As we look at the rest of the roster, some familiar faces from last year. Shire Gaines is back as their lead running back, the talented junior, another South Florida guy, 845 yards this year. The receiving core led by Barry Herbig, George Idenyahu, and Josh Schlegel. Their defense is pretty talented, better in terms of rating than the offense. Guys like Marcus Burns leading the way, Shaquille Lowry, he won't go, and Joel Passigno. So it should be a fun one. Our final game here at Lane Stadium in year number 2, and it is Senior Day, an opportunity for our talented senior class to be recognized. A lot of key faces on both sides of the ball. On offense, you look at stalwarts like Dante Diamont, along with many of our transfers, including Chris Mickens, Xavier Baker, Jack Stesko. And even though he's not a senior, we all kind of assumed this would be Nazir Ismail's final game here before he inevitably declares for the NFL draft. Defensively, a lot of guys will be graduating at the end of the year, including the best world, Elihu Gold, Quincy Akindele, and some of our new transfers as well, such as Emmanuel Derugi. So we've got a pretty big senior class. We're hoping to get these guys outright with a win, even though the second half of the year has been very challenging for our team. Obviously playing against some good opponents, but having some issues, especially on the offensive side of the ball with the stagnancy. I don't know if that's a word, but the stagnance, I don't know if that's a word either, but we're just going to roll with it. The offense's issues, let's put it that way, as the Hokies will start with it. Here is Ace Morgan, back as the starter for his second straight week, featuring Nazir Ismail and Chris Mickens. We need Mickens to play better. He wasn't very good a week ago. Nazir Ismail, meanwhile, with the game of his life. On first down, it's Ashwell Virgo with a juke move. Virgo with a first down, and he gets it near the 50. If only he had that breakaway speed. Could have been an even bigger run, but still, a gain of 20 for Virgo. He will stay in the backfield with Ace Morgan here on 3rd and 2. Morgan looks to throw it, dances around, scrambles. He's going to look to run with it. He's got a block, and Morgan gets a first down nearing the 35-yard line. Good decision with nobody open to take what the defense gives them and get the first down that way. Virginia Tech moving it pretty well so far. I thought the offense showed some good things a week ago. On the run, wide open, Nazir Ismail into the end zone for a touchdown, his 15th of the year. Even though Nazir Ismail is only a junior, he still participated in the Senior Day festivities. We felt like it was only right, given he's one of the greatest players in the history of the program. We're hoping he'll certainly be a top 10 pick, maybe even the very first wide receiver off the board. He blows by the defender instantly, as he's done pretty much all year. He easily catches it and cakewalks into the end zone for a score. So that'll make it 7-0 as we take our first look at the Virginia offense. Freddie Fears and company for their opening drive. Fears, play action, looks to throw it, lobs it up. Jordan Yahoo is wide open. Breaks away from Watkins. And Virginia answers in one play. We're tied at 7. So already, Virginia's made progress from last year. They only scored 3 a year ago. They already got 7 here within just one play. George Idenyahu on the first play takes it to the crib. That one officially going for 84 yards. Bad coverage by Watkins. Bad tackle angle by Watkins. And a bad tackle attempt by Watkins. I mean, that was just bad all the way around. I don't know what he was doing there. So we're tied at 7. Hokies back with it. Right back with the football. Chris Mickens dancing around, trying to break some tackles. Mickens now over the 1,000 yards mark as a rusher for a 3rd straight year. Did it the last 2 years at UMass. Whoop! Clean hurdle for Nazir Ismail. What can't this guy do? I mean, seriously. He does everything at the wide receiver position. 3rd and 6. Morgan looks to throw it. Under pressure, Ismail was open. He realized a little bit too late, which, if you really think about it, is kind of stupid because Ismail is always open. He's like 7'11". So at that point, it's like, well, why not throw the ball earlier? You know Ishmael's going to have space. Troutwine on for the punt, and it just barely rolls into the end zone. Wow, Virginia dodged a bullet. So we'll see their offense with an actual drive, the last one only lasting one play, unless this one lasts one play too. As Barry Herbig has space down the sideline, a gain of around 21 yards. Another play where we couldn't really tackle. Already within 2 offensive snaps, Freddie Fears is over 100 yards through the air as he hands it off for Shire. Gains on 2nd down, gains with the first down. So far, this defense, which has played for the most part pretty well over the last handful of weeks, other than the SMU game, so far the defense is struggling. Fears on the run, what a throw! Herbig breaking a tackle with a spin move. He gets it past the 30. Even in the SMU game, we weren't that bad. We only allowed 21 through the first 3 quarters against maybe the most talented offense in the country. Gaines loses yards, 3rd and 7. Fears has time on the run. It's caught inside the 5-yard line. Short throw is hauled in by Josh Schlegel. Now at the goal line, 1st and goal from the 2. Fears hands it off. Emmett Schlureth is into the end zone for a touchdown, and Virginia takes the lead. This does not look like the same offense we played against last year. These guys are flying down the field. I cannot remember the last time I've seen an offense play this well against us this early into the game. RPO on 3rd down. It's caught by guess who? Nazir Ismail, who already has 4 catches for 64 yards here in the opening quarter. 2nd and 6, 20 seconds left in the first. That one is hauled in. Nice play by Daniel Caffrey coming back to the football. With just 6 seconds left in the quarter, we'll see if we get this one off. It looks like it's going to be an option pitch. Esteban Cabrera with some blocks to the left side. A big run. Cabrera past the 15 with a juke move. Really nice gain by Esteban Cabrera, wrapping up a fast-paced, high-octane, whole lot of offense in the first quarter. 14-7. Virginia leads Virginia Tech. The Hokies, though, do have it in the red zone following a nice run by Cabrera. Freddie Fears has not missed a throw so far. 143 yards and a score. Ace Morgan has been super efficient. 8 of 10, 87 yards. Nazir Ismail leading the way. He's got a large chunk of those yards, as has been the case pretty much all year. 2nd down and about 3 inside the 10-yard line. Mickens in the backfield as it's a jet sweep. Baker going the wrong way. That's a big loss there, and we're looking at a 3rd down and medium now for the Hokies. Morgan will look to throw it, looking middle of the end zone, caught, touchdown! Xavier Baker holds on. What a really nice catch. That's not an easy play to make with the cornerback draped all over him. Baker, who lost yardage on the previous play, is able to come down with it, holds on to the ball, even though it was a wobbly pass as well. That's his first touchdown of the whole season, and it comes on Senior Day. How fitting. Play action, UVA back with it. That one is caught by Heartbreak. Breaks the tackle for Mitch Myrie. He's wrapped up by Watkins at around the 25 as Omani Hicken is dinged up. Seems like nothing is going the way of this Virginia Tech defense. With how impressive Freddie Fears has looked early in this game, Virginia fans really got to be excited that they've got this guy for the next few years. Fears steps up, scrambles, tucks it, runs. 1st down past the 45, past the 50. And he's wrapped up by Elihu Gold, but not before getting a big-time run up the middle to bring Virginia back within striking distance of regaining the lead. 3rd and 5. Shire Gaines loses yards. Corbin Roll brings him down, and they're going to look to take the points and kick the field goal. Interesting. It's a fairly long kick. I think we're looking at around probably 47 yards. It is good. It squeaks through. Virginia back on top of Virginia Tech. 17-14. Hokies get it back. Offenses look good so far. Ace Morgan slinging the rock. We've ran the ball pretty efficiently. Unfortunately, though, it's the one game where the defense has not shown up at all. Here's Virgo. He's going the wrong way. A loss of yardage. And now we're looking at a 2nd down and about 12. With Mickens back in at running back, under 6 to play in the first half. Looks like it's a screen. Chris Mickens, dangerous in space. Finds room up the middle. Big play after the catch by Mickens, who gets it past the 40. I thought he had a chance to break that one off for an even bigger play, but we'll take it. Really solid 1st down gain, moving the chains. But now it is a 3rd down and 8. Morgan, his pass, caught, 1st down. Daniel Caffrey, past the 40. Good to get Caffrey involved. We know how talented he is, even if his usage hasn't been overly consistent. Mickens gets the first, past the 30, past the 25. Chris Mickens has been a major asset in the passing game. I mentioned it roughly halfway through the year. I don't think we've used him enough as a receiver. I think we've done a much better job of getting him involved through the air as Ismail hauls it in, his 5th catch of the game. Morgan's getting everybody involved, though. 10 completions to receivers other than Nazir Ismail. Look at that. We're making progress. At the goal line, Mickens looks to run around the defense. Mickens breaks the plane. A Senior Day touchdown for the senior, Chris Mickens. And the Hokies are back on top late in the first half. The Hokie Bird is loving what he is seeing from this offense. By far, the best our offense has looked in quite some time. There's just a different energy on that side of the ball. There's just a different kind of fluidity. Just so much more consistency on a drive-by-drive, play-by-play basis on the offensive side of the ball. It finally feels like all 11 guys on the field are in sync with each other. Final play before the 2-minute timeout. Gaines gets it with a spin move on to Best World. What a run by Shire Gaines. That'll bring us to the 2-minute timeout. What has been an exciting first half here at Lane Stadium. 21-17, Virginia Tech over Virginia. Here is Fears. Scrambles around, looks to run with it. Fears will get the first down. A gain of around 10 or 11. He's been as advertised as a runner so far. Fears under pressure, looking to avoid the sack. He's tripped up. And Manuel DeRugi, the transfer from Central Michigan, who's coming along, playing his best football down the stretch. 2nd and 21. Fears is under more pressure. He throws it away. I think a big reason why we were able to get the sack on first down and then no one got open on second down was because of the man coverage. We're primarily a zone team, but back-to-back great reps in man. Now on 3rd and 21, we're not going to have everybody play man, as that one is caught past the 35-yard line. But there is a penalty, and it looks like this one is coming back. A holding against the Virginia offensive line. It's on Alex Fenix, the right tackle. I'm going to accept the penalty. I know we could decline it, make it a 4th down, but they would be in field goal range. Now it's 3rd and 31. They go short. Josh Schlegel, he gets like 3. So now they're not in any position to kick a field goal. It also gives us extra yardage. And how much further back their offense ended up. Just over a minute left in the half. They're pressing at the line. Ismail wide open. Ismail, he's got it. Outruns the corner all the way to the house for a touchdown. Nazir Ismail, 82 yards. And the Hokies add to the lead. Once I saw that they were playing press coverage, I knew the play was over as long as Morgan was making the throw. Now, to Virginia's credit, they sent a safety over to try to double him. Doesn't matter. Ismail runs by both of them with no problem. You cannot win in press coverage against Ismail because he's so fast off the line of scrimmage. His breaks are so quick, and once you're behind him, you're not catching up. 28-17, Virginia back with it. It's a screen for Gaines. They've got some catching up to do, trailing now by 11. And it looks like this one might be coming back. A holding against the offensive line. They've had a couple of penalties throughout the course of this game, as that's going to lose 10 yards on Devontae Chamberlain, an offensive tackle. 2nd and 20, read option. Fears on the run with a solid gain. Makes up the yardage from the penalty. Virginia calls time. I was ready to call timeout, but they're doing it instead for us. I'm confident the defense can get a stop and we can get the ball back. 3rd and 9, Fears lobs it up. One-on-one coverage. Broken away, looking for her big Elihu Gold. The outstanding senior corner gets a hand on it. 11 seconds, one timeout for Virginia Tech. Morgan up the middle. He's got Caffrey. That will comfortably put us into field goal range. It also keeps the kick censored. We do have to use our last timeout with 6 seconds. I think we're going to run one more play, though. Might as well throw it up to the end zone. I think you know who we're looking for here. Maybe he comes down with it. And oh my God, he actually came down with it. Nazir Ismail, another touchdown. And Virginia Tech heads to the lead with a second left. He got a foot in bounds. I think he actually got 2. Nazir Ismail is unbelievable. We throw it up to him in double coverage, and he gets it. As I said earlier, he does everything on the field. He's got 186 yards and 3 touchdowns in just the first half. With 6 seconds left, I figure we might as well throw it up to him. Even if he's double covered, he's just that good. 2.5 minutes ago, Virginia had the lead. Now they're trailing 35-17. The story of the game is obviously Nazir Ismail. 7 catches, 186 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He is not of this planet. Our offense has scored more points in the first half today than I'm pretty sure we have scored in any full game through the course of the year against a power conference opponent. We did put up 38 against ECU and nearly 50 against Marshall, but against power conference opponents in regulation, we might have had more than 35 against Clemson, but that was double overtime. So, long story short, the offense is playing their balls off. We have, as a team, 398 yards today. Morgan, 19 of 26, 299, and 4 touchdowns. That's a season high in passing touchdowns for either quarterback, and he's only done it in one half. Mickens, 6 for 37 and a score on the ground. He's also got 42 yards through the air. Caffrey, 4 for 55. And then again, Ismail, he's not of this planet. Here is Shire Gaines, does not get the first down. Virginia's offense is really slowing down. after a couple impressive. Oh my God, they're going for it. Inside the 35, a minute into the third, and Gaines gets the first down with ease. Touche. I respect the ballsiness. As I was trying to say, they had the 2 touchdown drives early, since they're only 3 points. Fears' pass is caught on second down. What a catch. Moving the chains. Fears in the first half, 10 of 14, 180 and a touchdown. He was really good in the first quarter. Didn't give him a whole lot in the second. Gaines loses yardage. Quincy Akindele, the 5th-year senior, one of the longest tenured players on the roster, brings him down. Third down and long. Broken away in the end zone. Samson Abbott, who intercepted Tyree Wells a week ago, makes the play. That'll lead to a punt. Hokies get it back, starting at the 11-yard line here on first down. Morgan looks to throw it. Morgan looking down the field. Ismail, are you kidding me? This guy is not of this planet. 89 yards for a touchdown. And Virginia Tech adds to the lead. Nazir Ismail is putting up a Heisman-esque game here in the final week of the regular season. Again, why are they playing him so close to the line of scrimmage? He runs by the corner he's matched up with. He runs by the deep safeties. And once you lose him over the top, there's no catching him. Nazir Ismail, his 4th touchdown of the game to go along with like 270-some yards. He has more yards than he had last week. That's unbelievable. Fears is sacked by Royland Mathis for a loss. Mathis has become our most consistent pass rusher. It's been really fun watching his development this year. 3rd and 17. Fears scrambles around. It is going in the middle of nowhere. Could have easily been intercepted by Gold. This game has gone off the rails fast. We were trailing 6-7 minutes ago. Now we're up by 25. Morgan on third down. He's got a wide open receiver, Tevison Jackson, the senior tight end. Morgan just shy of 400 yards now. Here's Mickens to the left side. Mickens gets the first down past the 20. We haven't really needed Mickens a lot because there have been other guys who have stole the show, but Mickens has played a good game, around 100 yards of scrimmage. I don't know why Cabrera did the little hop step, but he gets the first down inside the 5. Hokies looking to add to the lead here on 1st and goal. Morgan takes the handoff. End around. Nazir Ismail walks the red carpet. That's 5. Strikes the Heisman pose in the end zone. A well-deserved Heisman moment. This whole game has been his Heisman moment. 10 touches from scrimmage, over 280 yards, and 5 touchdowns. That's 50% of the time he's gotten the ball from scrimmage. It's ended in the end zone. I feel like that's a perfect way to go out in your home Virginia Tech career. We're taking the starters out now on both sides of the ball. We're up by 32. There's not much more we've got to see. Let's play the backups. On first down, one of our backup defensive linemen is in with, actually, that's one of the linebackers, R.J. Jordan, the true freshman, who brings down Fears. 3rd down and 11. The sack was only a loss of a yard. Fears looks to throw it, lobs it up, quadruple coverage. What happened to Freddie Fears? He was unstoppable in the first quarter. Now it looks like he's got tunnel vision and is seeing ghosts. He looks like an entirely different player from the first quarter of this game where he was dotting us up to now where he's looked horrible. Cam Kingsbury in at quarterback. See, we're going to get some Cam Kingsbury snaps after all. Cabrera on 3rd and 7. Only gets about a yard, and he's hurt. So that'll wrap up the third quarter. Live, laugh, love Nazir Ismail. He's got 5 touchdowns in this game. Trying to make a late season push for the Heisman Trophy. He hasn't been on the Heisman list at all this year, but he is in 6th for the Maxwell and the Walter camp, which is basically the extended Heisman. So you'd think he could easily move up into the top 5 this week. We could stat pad with him, but he has 500 yards over the last 2 weeks. Either he's going to get it or he's not. KJ Story brings down Carlos Morris. Virginia, as you can see, has brought in their backups. The redshirt senior in at quarterback. Virginia looking to get some young guys and some old guys some run. Schlureth does not get the first down. Stefan Fina, the 4-star freshman, brings him down. The game thinks this is field goal range for the kicker, Somi Tomu. I don't think so. They're going to go for it. That feels like the right choice. Fears hit as he throws. It's once again Stefan Fina. along with a couple other guys in the backfield, but it was really Fina making an excellent opening impression as that one is caught. It's Chris Mickens who's in the game. Breaks a tackle, the juke move inside the 20, the 15, the 10. The reason why Mickens was in the game there is since he's been a little banged up over the last couple of weeks, he looks healthy today. I wanted to get him a few extra touches, just make sure he's fresh for the ball game that we now know we're going to. Third down and goal. That one is Keontae Trice-Taylor, doesn't get much, and we're going to see the field goal unit for the first time today. 26-yarder for the freshman, K.C. Swinger. His kick is good, 52-17. And for those who are not math majors, that is a 45-3 run. 45-3. The craziest part about that is that's not even as bad as last year's game, which was 51-3. It's remarkable to think that the Hokies had the lead 2 minutes before the half because this team just looks lost. Morris throws out of the sack. It's incomplete. They're just going to punt the ball. You're down by a gazillion points. I mean, they know it's over. Another new quarterback is in the game. Akeem Okafor hands it off for Silas Sizemore. Doesn't get much, so we'll have to punt it again. Virginia back with it. Schloreth going backwards. It's guess who? Stefan Fina. We could have used this guy throughout the course of the year, but better late than ever, I suppose. He's going to play a lot in the bowl game. 3rd and 13. Fina again is there with the sack. He had a little bit of help, but that was Stefan Fina who had a majority of the pressure. 3 TFLs, half a sack. What a first impression for Stefan Fina. I mean, my God, did he look good. Nolan Roll finishes it out with the offense. A 4th quarterback has entered the game as the Hokies win yet another Commonwealth Cup, Commonwealth Clash, whatever you want to call it. Of course, when we beat Virginia last year, it was a total blowout. This year, we one-upped ourselves on offense from 51-52. Now, it wasn't as much of a blowout. Virginia led after the first quarter. They had the lead nearing the 2-minute mark in the first half. They were in the game for a while, and then we rattled off 3 touchdowns at the end of the second quarter and did not look back. Ace Morgan, 21 of 28, 397, and 5 touchdowns. He has been excellent over the last 2 weeks. Easily our 2 best quarterback performances of the year. I don't want to rain on his parade because he was really good, but how much of that was because he had Nazir Ismail to throw the ball to? What's it going to look like next year when Ismail's in the NFL? Solid day running the ball. Everybody got to eat. Mickens led the way. And then through the air, yeah, not too bad. 8 for 275 and 4 for Nazir Ismail, who also had 11 yards on the ground and another touchdown. The all-time school record for yards in a game is 279. My one regret is that we didn't get him to break the record. He one-upped himself from last week with 267 yards against SMU. I didn't think he could go higher than that. He did, but on half as many catches, 34 yards per reception. And the crazy part is we got everybody else going. Mickens, Caffrey, Baker, those guys all made big plays for us through the air. We didn't force Ismail. He was just open every goddamn play. Offensive line was excellent, top to bottom, and then the defense started off a little rocky. 14 points allowed in the first quarter, only 3 after that. Stefan Fina leads the way, 3 TFLs and a sack. Freddie Fears looked really promising early, started 6 of 6, over 100 yards, and then it kind of fell apart. He just looked kind of lost in the second half. He couldn't respond to pressure at all. He wasn't accurate. He was making bad reads. And it was weird because he was dotting this up in the first quarter. It seems like the ebbs and flows of the game kind of affect him a little bit. A guy like Cam Kingsbury, I've noticed, is the opposite. He doesn't get fazed by the bright lights, but he's got the memory of the goldfish. Nazir Ismail has broken the Virginia Tech career receiving yards record, and he did it in less than 3 years. How about that? Continuing his historic season. He now has 95 catches, 1,700 yards, and 18 touchdowns. How did Duke stop him to just 2 receptions? Duke deserves so much credit for that because he averaged 250 over the next 2 weeks. He now has 3,294 yards in his career, 34 touchdowns. To think him and Daniel Caffrey were pretty much even in yards going into the year. Now, there are still a lot of guys ahead of him, even some juniors like Marlon Langley at Ole Miss and Marcus Blower at USF. Those guys have more catches, yards, and for the most part, touchdowns than Nazir Ismail, which is kind of crazy to think about given how good Ismail has been this year. He's taken the NCAA lead in receiving yards. let's talk some recruiting. There's not a whole lot to go over, given that most of our exciting battles have ended in losses. We only have 5 players this cycle, but 5 really good players, so I think can all be difference makers for us. But we're going to be able to offer pretty much everybody here 50, which kind of works out, at least all the guys who have not locked us out with deal breakers, although I'm confident we'll be able to push ourselves back up for a lot of them. Jarrell Casey, for instance. Of course, we had Alex Madu and Ahmad Mohammed in for visits this game, and those visits went really well. We won a rivalry game, which gets us bonus points. We beat a higher tier opponent, which gets us bonus points, and we blew them out. So I'm thinking we could have easily locked up those 2 commitments with how well those visits went. Not looking great for center John Awuzie. We're in 4th. Taylor Dukes, we have a close lead over BYU, and then Matthew Jackson, he's visiting USC this week. We're in 2nd. Not looking promising, but maybe the visit goes poorly. They are playing against Notre Dame. I've left everybody else on the board who has committed. I'm waiting until signing day to see if they flip, and if not, I'm going to take them off. There just wasn't really anybody I wanted to add on in their place. I want to wait until the offseason to give us transfer portal flexibility, and if we want, we can still add some 3-star freshmen. So going into the final week of the regular season, a lot of teams are done. Penn State has off, LSU has off, Texas has off, and obviously those teams are sort of on the bubble in terms of the at-large. I think Penn State at number 6 is a lock. LSU at number 9 is probably in, and then Texas is the last team in for now. But the first 2 teams out, Michigan and Ohio State, play each other. You would think the winner of that game will jump Texas. If Ohio State wins, they should not jump Texas because Texas beat them this year. Texas also beat LSU. Texas is getting screwed with some of the head-to-head stuff, but regardless, the winner of the Michigan-Ohio State game will probably jump Texas. And then after that, NC State, Illinois, Nebraska. It would take a lot for one of those teams to jump into the top 12, but I suppose it is possible. We went deeper into the conference races last episode. I won't do it again, but long story short for the ACC, it looks like it'll be SMU and Clemson. I think Miami's in the perfect spot, though. Their regular season is done. They don't have to worry about a conference championship. They're still going to get a first-round bye. They're not going to have to play until the second round. That gives them over a month off. Now, they could be rusty, which could be an issue. But in terms of point differential, they are head and shoulders the best team in the country, and it's not close. In the SEC, it'll be Georgia and Oklahoma. If Oklahoma beats Georgia, they could steal a bid from somebody like Texas or Clemson or somebody else. The Big Ten is where things get fun. USC is one spot. If Ohio State beats Michigan, they will get the other spot. If Michigan wins, then all hell will break loose. So if Michigan beats Ohio State, they will have the tiebreaker over the Buckeyes. But Illinois beat Michigan. Illinois also beat Penn State, who also beat Ohio State. Here's the thing, though. Illinois lost to Nebraska. So does Nebraska get the spot? They lost to somebody. I think they lost to Ohio State earlier in the year. So it's just a big revolving circle. Who would get the spot next to USC? In the Big 12, it'll be Texas Tech and Arizona State most likely. Still, the Sun Devils got to win this week. After starting 10-0 last year and falling off, they've got to make sure that they control their own fate, finish the year 11-1. In the American, South Florida will get one spot. East Carolina probably will get the other, although if they lose, it could go to Tulane. I think the winner of this conference will make the playoff, although if it's not South Florida, then there is an argument for a team like maybe Toledo. They've still got to make the MAC conference title, but they've got one of the top QB running back tandems in the country, and they just got a big-time resume win last week, beating Oklahoma and Norman in a must-win game for the Sooners. If neither South Florida or Toledo wins their conference, it could go to the Conference USA with Middle Tennessee State or Liberty, who are both 10-1. Probably won't go much lower than that. I don't think the other conferences have a shot. In terms of the notable games this week, there are 3 big ones to watch. Notre Dame and USC. The Trojans with a win likely cement a top 4 seed. Notre Dame, meanwhile, I think they're winning in, lose and out. This is their last chance to prove to the committee why they belong. They could move as high as one of the top 4 seeds. They could move as low as out of the playoff entirely. Michigan, Ohio State, the objective is simple. Win and you're probably in the playoff. Lose and you're out. And then NC State, North Carolina. I don't think UNC really has a shot. But NC State is only the 3rd team out right now. They're going to jump one of Ohio State or Michigan if they win. So that would propel them to the 2nd team out. So they've got a shot. Taylor Dukes, the safety, has committed. It was close between us and BYU. We had a good visit with him a few weeks back. That gave us the lead, and luckily we were able to capitalize on that. Now, unfortunately, we do lose the center, John Owuzie, who is going to Louisville. That is unfortunate because I really liked him. I didn't think it was going to happen, though. He visited Louisville this week. He was only at 5 schools, though, when we last saw him. He's not even going down to 3 or having a battle. He's just committing on the spot. Nazir Ismail, ACC Offensive Player of the Week. Nazir Ismail, National Player of the Week. You know, the huge. Back-to-back weeks for him. So let's take a look at our games in Week 14. We'll start with Nebraska and Iowa. The Cornhuskers have a weird pathway, but I guess a pathway of making the Big Ten title. They've got to beat their rivals, Iowa, first, and they would. Finishing the year 9-3. If they had just won one other game, they could have made the playoff as an at-large, but they were not very good towards the middle of the year. Played well at the beginning, played well at the end, struggled in the middle. Rough showing for Josiah Skinner, picked off 4 times, 21 interceptions on the year for him. Great year for Deontay Stephen, but it feels like Iowa kind of wasted it. They were playing well early this season too, but really fell off. 3 scores for Tamario Harold leading the way. Illinois is 1 spot ahead of Nebraska. They're in the exact same situation in the sense that there's a way they can make the playoff. There's a way they can get in the conference title, but it would take a lot. Bronson Truman with a big-time run against the rival Northwestern. Illinois takes care of business. Just like Nebraska, if only Illinois wasn't trolling in the middle of the year. Granted, they went 10-2, which is better than 9-3, but they also lost those 2 games by like 100. Really good game from Nair Dinkins. I think Illinois should be excited about him as the quarterback. And then Bronson Truman, heck of a player. I don't know why they gave him the ball single-digit times in those 2 games that they lost, but yeah, he is awesome. And if Illinois does make the playoff, which is unlikely but possible, then he will be must-watch television. I don't know if an iteration of the game has been quite as important as this one. Ohio State and Michigan are the first 2 teams out of the playoff. There is so much at stake between these 2 arch rivals. But with the way that Malachi Foreman has played over the last month of the year, he's got this offense rolling. For those of you who wanted chaos in the Big Ten, you're not getting it. Ohio State wins, and they win big. 41-20 over Michigan. It will be Ohio State in the conference title against USC, and they do jump Texas, but only Texas, to the number 11 spot. Cason Wood, biggest game of his career, falters. They should still be excited about him, I think. Remember, Wood last year was at Ohio State. Really was not much worse than Elijah Pyle was coming in relief due to an injury. And getting him that extra playing time might have helped in the long term, but they're just not on the level of this Ohio State team. Even when Michigan was ranked higher, I said the Buckeyes are going to be the favorite. The Buckeyes should win that game, and they do. Malachi Foreman has really figured things out after really struggling in the first half of the year. He's looked like one of the best quarterbacks in the country. The Ohio State offensive line was terrific. We talked about some of these guys in the Browns episode the other day. Michigan's got this kid at defensive tackle who might be the number 1 pick. Curtis Glenn III has had an unbelievable season. He had only 2 tackles and none for a loss. His worst game of the season came at the worst time. Alex Huber, the center, and Gerald Worthy, the left guard, had him in hell. Ohio State is going to the conference title, but I did a test sim to see what would happen if Michigan had won this game. In our chaos scenario, it would have been Penn State, even though they lost to Illinois. But they did beat Ohio State. Honestly, I think the biggest winner of Penn State not going to the conference title is probably Penn State. I don't know if they would move into the top 4 with a win, and at that point, the game doesn't really help them. So not playing in the Big Ten title is the best thing that could have happened to Penn State. NC State at North Carolina. The Wolfpack need a win to keep their playoff hopes alive. And they would get that. Zakir Barrett running for 3 touchdowns. NC State finishes 10-2. North Carolina losing officially punches Clemson's ticket into the ACC title. 50-42, no shortage of offense. NC State now number 13. They do jump Michigan. They're the second team out behind Texas. Really good game for the Wolfpack offense. I mean, they scored 50 points against the defense who we scored 10 off of. Very good year for UNC. They went 9-3. But Jadel Mathis didn't really take that leap, and Braden Rogers is still made of glass. Auburn, number 19. The committee has disrespected them this year. They're playing against Troy. Troy's pretty good. They got mollywopped, though, last week by Miami. However, it was Troy who would come into Auburn, get the upset. Auburn and Alabama didn't want to play the Iron Bowl, so instead Alabama plays nobody. Auburn plays Troy, and Auburn loses. I hope both of these teams, both Alabama and Auburn, were laughed at for not playing each other, because that matchup could have really helped either one of those teams potentially make a last-second case for the playoff. Instead, Alabama sits at home and does nothing. You know what, though? It could be worse. They could have been Auburn, who lost to a group of 5 this week instead. I don't want to make Troy to look bad, though. Troy's one of the best group of 5 teams in the country. I think they've got the best squad in the Sun Belt. This is a big win for them. East Carolina against Army. The Pirates are win and in to the American Athletic Championship, but Army's no gimme. They're 8-2. Okay, I lied. They are a gimme. ECU mopped the floor against the Black Knights. Raiden Dragos ran for 3 scores. Julian Hero one-upped him and threw for 4. ECU wins in dominant fashion, 56-13. They will play against South Florida for the American Athletic title. Tulane and Memphis both fall short. I believe the winner of the game against ECU and USF should go to the playoff. I think if East Carolina wins, they're better than, say, Toledo. They're better than anybody in the Conference USA. They would get a big-time resume win at the end of the year. I think they belong if they beat South Florida. Next up, Clemson and South Carolina. This Clemson team, to me, is hilarious. I will give you guys one chance to predict how this game went for them. If you predicted that they struggled with 2-10 South Carolina, trailed in the fourth quarter, but came back to win, I'd call you crazy because they're playing against South Carolina. That's exactly what happened. Clemson is inevitable. They do this every week. Every week! They keep winning, to their credit, but, at what point is this no longer sustainable? Nick Eberle was picked off 4 times against one of the worst power conference teams in the country. This is why I don't trust Clemson in the playoff. They're struggling at home with a South Carolina team that is nearly 30 overall ratings points worse than them. But my God, Clemson just keeps finding ways to win. That's what they do. They play against SMU in the ACC title. That game will be fascinating. SMU could win by 40, or Clemson could pull off one of their stupid comebacks again. I don't know which one, but it's going to be entertaining. Along with SMU, Texas Tech is the only undefeated team in the country at 11-0. Looking to complete the perfect regular season, they face off against the Bearcats, and the Red Raiders would continue their win streak. Texas Tech has lost 1 game since the start of this series. 1. And that was early in year 1, too. This is at least like a 25-game win streak at this point. 38-21. They did not start off overly strong. They were down by 8 going into the break. Outscored Cincinnati 25-0 in the second half. Texas Tech has barely moved up in the rankings, though, despite how well they've played. I think if they win the Big 12, they have to get a first-round bye, and if they don't, it's ludicrous. The thing with this Texas Tech team to me is I think they're better than they were last year when they won the title. Sure, they don't have the explosiveness in the passing game with guys like Caleb Hobbs and Jordan Newton in the NFL, but I think their roster is better than it was a year ago when they won the whole thing. Toledo put the country on notice last week by going into Norman, Oklahoma playing a must-win game and putting up over 50 on the Sooners. Well, they put up 50 more points, 52 to be exact, against Bowling Green. They punched their ticket to the MAC championship, and if South Florida loses to East Carolina in the American Athletic title, as of right now, Toledo is the second highest ranked group of 5 team playing in a conference championship. So right now it would be Toledo, who with a win could get the group of 5 spot in the playoff. South Florida should beat ECU, but that game is not a gimme. East Carolina is really good. If Toledo makes the playoff, I think they could give someone an interesting first-round game. They did go into Norman and beat Oklahoma after all. Seeing teams like Toledo and East Carolina performing really well this week has got to put a little extra pressure on South Florida. As we learned with this team last year, they like pressure. They went into Rice and dominated the Owls. Look at this spin move by Chris Venable, the transfer from Missouri. 58-3. South Florida reminds everyone who the best group of 5 team is in the country and why they are the clear frontrunners to get the Group of 5 spot. And now the pathway is simple. Beat East Carolina and you are in the playoff. East Carolina is really good. Do not let the 8-4 record, do not let them not being in the rankings fool you. They are very good, and they will give USF a tight battle. But this Bulls team is certainly capable of winning not just that game, but into the playoff. Notre Dame and USC, we've got a big one. Especially big for Notre Dame. Winning, they're in the playoff. Losing, they probably drop out. This game went down to the wire, but ultimately it was Maxwell Logan, the senior quarterback at Notre Dame, when the lights were the brightest. He turned it on. The Irish are headed back to the playoff, 36-35, in a game where they trailed 14 at the break and 7 going into the fourth. But Max Logan played outstanding despite being sacked 5 times. Notre Dame's O-line really struggled. Amari Blue only had 2.5 yards per carry. That's the best running back in the country. USC's front unit decimated Notre Dame in the backfield, but the Irish still found a way. Maxwell Logan was poised, confident, looked like a true vet. Jackson Jackson played some really good ball, though. USC goes into the conference title against Ohio State. I think they could possibly move back into the top 4 with a win and a little bit of help. So that opens the door for SMU to potentially regain that number 1 spot. They're playing against Duke. SMU, along with Texas Tech, looking for the undefeated regular season. We know how good this team is firsthand, and they did it again this week. Tyree Wells connecting with Parker Zasko for the touchdown. Zasko strikes the Heisman pose. That was not tough, big bro. SMU wins at 52-21. A carbon copy and paste in a lot of ways of their game against us. It was 28-21 after the third, and then they put up a gazillion points in the fourth. This is how this SMU team plays. It will be close early, and then in the fourth quarter, they will punish you by keeping it close. Now, Damon Easter getting injured is bad news. As good as Tyree Wells played, as good as Parker Zasko looked, 9 for 202, trying to remind Nazir Ismail who the Heisman is. Damon Easter, though, tore his abdominal. He'll be out for the ACC title game. I think he will be back by the second round of the playoff. Now, if SMU loses the ACC title, maybe they do have to win a first-round game. That would make things a little complicated. We'll wrap things up with Arizona State and Arizona. This feels like a must-win game for the Sun Devils. They will make the conference title regardless, but they cannot afford another late-season choke like last year. They learned their lesson, although it was a lot closer than it should have been. 37-34, Arizona State finishes 11-1. So I think this means probably, even with a loss against Texas Tech in the conference title, they most likely make the playoff unless they get blown out by a lot. Then I could see them dropping. But otherwise, at 11-1, I think they're pretty safe to get in. As we take a look at our other scores across the country, we went through most of these games, but Georgia blows out Georgia Tech. We haven't really talked about Georgia over the last few weeks. There just hasn't really been anything to go over. They're blowing out everybody who they should blow out. They've clinched their SEC title spot a while ago. There's nothing interesting about them. They're playing some great football, though. TCU with a good end of the year. Liberty and Middle Tennessee State are both back ranked. Memphis with a nice win to end their regular season over UAB. They finished 10-2. And then otherwise, we went through every other game here. In the ACC, some of the other results include Louisville beating Kentucky by 1. I know that's a rivalry win. That's a big deal for Louisville. Not a good look to score 17 against a really bad Kentucky team. Pitt over Wake Forest, Florida over Florida State. Both of those teams kind of disappointing this year. Ole Miss wins the Egg Bowl over Mississippi State, snapping their 4-game losing streak. The Rebels finished 7-5. Vanderbilt upsets Tennessee 34-33. I don't know what to make of this Tennessee team. I think they're clearly better than their 6-6 record, but man, it's been a disappointment. Oregon with a win over Michigan State. Good end of the year for the Ducks, who I feel like took some leaps from last year. UCLA upsets Washington. Hard to believe I thought Washington had a chance to be a top 10 team pretty early in the year. That aged like sour milk, which as a hater, I can't say I'm upset about. So SMU climbs up to number 1. Georgia, Miami, Notre Dame now hold the byes. There are some interesting teams. I think below Penn State, I don't know if there are many locks in the playoff. USC, Arizona State, and Clemson all playing conference titles. If they all get blown out, they could easily be pushed away. Ohio State could be pushed away with a loss. I think Texas should jump Ohio State because Texas beat them earlier in the year. But if multiple teams in that Arizona State, Clemson, USC cluster get blown out, could somebody like NC State or Illinois jump up? It feels unlikely, but I suppose there's a mathematical world where it's possible. Now that the regular season is done, there will be no more movement for the teams other than the conference championships. So this is not what the final bracket is going to look like, obviously, but it's going to look a lot like this. SMU, Georgia, Miami, Notre Dame with the first round byes. Some exciting first round matchups. I think a rematch of Texas Tech and South Florida would be cinema. Texas Tech does not deserve that at all, but that would objectively be a great game. The other scenario I really have my eye on is Ohio State, Penn State in the first round. A couple of freshman quarterbacks who already played each other this year in a game Penn State won. Nazir Ismail and Rashawn Slivan win the Players of the Week. Tavares Morris in the ACC. What about the Heisman? Is our guy there? How about first place? Hello! Nazir Ismail, out of nowhere, has taken the lead for the Heisman at the end of the regular season. Amir Anthony and Brian Maddie fall to third and fourth. Zasco remains in second. Wow! Ismail has the most yards of the group. Now, we've got to remember, he doesn't have any more games left. Brian Maddie and Parker Zasco both have conference titles. Zasco is the edge in terms of touchdowns. Maddie could easily pass Ismail in yards. He would need 80. He has not had a game this year with less than 80. So he should theoretically find himself ahead. He had his season low in yards this week with 83 in the win against Georgia Tech. But our guy has a shot to win the Heisman. That just speaks to how good he is. On a 6-6 team, our bowl projection right now is the Fenway Bowl against Memphis. And again, given that the regular season is done, there's a good chance it could end up like this. Why are Oregon and Washington playing each other? That's disgusting. I will say, though, I think a game against Memphis would be super fun. I've really enjoyed following them this year. They've got an awesome quarterback with Arion Igwebuike. That'd be an amazing game. We're going to simulate the week. Not much changed. I offered everybody 50 points. We get Matthew Jackson, the 4-star receiver. Wow! I wasn't really expecting that. USC had the lead on him. I guess the visit against Notre Dame didn't go that great. They did lose that game, so it makes some sense. This is a big deal for us. This is really the first recruiting battle this year where I feel like we ended up kind of lucky. We've been so unlucky all year, but we get a really good player with Jackson, and we get Ahmad Mohammed at defensive tackle. Not really as much of a surprise, but still a really, really good get. I'm stoked about Jackson. I really thought we were only going to end up with one receiver this year, which is unfortunate. Even though we got the best receiver on our board, we needed more than one. So getting a second one is huge. We still have one more regular season game. I know I've been talking about how the regular season is done, but we've still got Army-Navy. This game did not feel like Army-Navy at all. We just saw Army got blown out against East Carolina last week. Navy did them even worse today. Navy scored almost 60. Yeah, 59-7. Does that say 7 for 37? How is that possible? How do you throw 18% completion percentage and only have one pick? How inaccurate were those throws? Did he put them in the stands? I'm not joking. That's a genuine question. Navy had 3 guys run for over 100 yards, including the quarterback, Steve Guardardo, who did it on only 11 carries. So Navy finishes 6-6. They will go bowling. Army finishes 8-4, but an absolutely embarrassing way to end the year. J.R. Tryon and Matt Dwelly win the Players of the Week. So, since neither of those teams are ranked, there shouldn't be any movement in the rankings. There's not. There shouldn't be any movement in terms of the playoff bracket. There's not. It's the same group going into conference title week. We shouldn't have any movement on the Heisman. What the hell? Why is Zasco in first? Neither of these guys played. How is he passing Ismail? That is so stupid. In terms of bowl projections, nothing different. Obviously, why would there be movement? Why would there be movement in the Heisman race? That's so stupid. So next week is conference championship week. In the next episode, we will go through our bowl game. We will go through all the conference titles, and we will have a bracket for the college football playoff. So a lot of fun stuff in that next episode. We'll see if it's against Memphis or somebody else. I think regardless, though, it will be an enjoyable game as we wrap up season number 2, hopefully with a win. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Peace out.